Alright, hey, what is up, YouTube? Koyo coming out to the brand new video, and in this game we're going to be checking out the awesome Adept powers that I was talking about in my last video. I wanted to start this video out by saying, if you guys have not already, make sure to follow my stream. I really appreciate all the support, and most importantly, I want to hang out with you guys. Make sure that instead of, replying to your comments on YouTube, which I think is a little bit detached, we can do some real-time interaction, get some awesome shenanigans going on from chat, whatever you guys want to see. We can try out some new stuff in Legacy of the Void together. And as always, we can get some awesome invites going to Duty Girl. Get the best clan icon logo in all of Legacy of all of Starcraft. The best logo out of all games ever created, and you'll be a part of it. How awesome is that? So in this game, we're checking out another game between myself and, in the bottom left, if you didn't already notice, Neuro. Been playing him pretty much every other game on Legacy of the Void because, as of recording this, there have been very few invites sent out, but tomorrow is Friday, and that does mean that the 20% invite wave is going out. In fact, I believe it may already be out. If you haven't checked your email, I definitely suggest you do that, because you may very well have an email in there for Legacy of the Void, and then you can get in the Super Pro Clan status with me. Spread the 2D love justice. And we can see here we're just going for our standard opener, getting some expansion, adding on our pylon at the front for a wall. We see Neuro is going for a pretty standard hatch into gas into third hatch build. One thing that I mentioned while I was playing this game, this is from stream, is that I don't like this hatchery placement. Not exactly sure why he chooses to do this. Every game that I have played against him on this map, he has chosen to do that. And the reason I don't like it is because, especially with Adepts in this game, if you're moving in between your natural and your main base, often, we see here, he's actually getting a really fast Roach Warren. Not sure if we saw that or not. We did not. That if your queen's moving out of your natural base, which is, in this case here, it has to go all the way up this ramp and then into the main base. And that's a pretty far distance, and usually results in missing an inject or two. And injects, drone production, mineral income, all even more important in Legacy of the Void with how quickly the economy ramps up. We do see here that in this game, added on robotics, only have 4 guys on gas here, adding on 2 more gates and even a 3rd one. Added on a stalker after our adept here. And see, this is what I mean. The creep spread radius is pretty far. We can just run right into the back base here with our adept. It doesn't make a difference to us. Killing a larva there actually is worth quite a bit. Basically worth almost a drone. Not worth exactly a drone, but... And you see here these queens off creep. The time that you're not injecting is pretty substantial here and actually matters. So if I was to suggest something to him, that's definitely something I would mention. We do see here that we are getting our warp prism. We do have a pylon down here, and we are adding on a immortal. We did see those roaches, which is incredibly early. So not sure if he's going for a roach attack or just building some defensive roaches here. See, right now it is about 31 to 35 workers, so we're not too far behind. And Neuro does have Roach Warren down here. Just now getting his Zergling speed. Actually completely skipped that. See, we're adding on an observer because we're not really sure if he's going for burrowed roach movement speed or what. He does have a lair. And we can see that as he comes in here with an overseer. We are aware of his tech path. Warping in some adepts here, and this is where the game gets... This is where the shenanigans start. The goodness and the greatness that is Protoss. Reminds me a lot of Brood War Protoss. We saw this in our last game where you have the utility of flying around with oracles, and now we have the utility of flying around with adepts where you can shove and push and pull your opponent in whatever ways you want to with multitasking. We see here that we're already catching up in the worker count very quickly. Losing a few adepts is easily worth losing the workers. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying in the other game. It kind of annoys me how this kind of works in Protoss versus Protoss, because Protoss does not have adequate units that deal damage, kind of prevent adepts from doing this type of damage. But if you have roaches in position, this actually does considerably less damage. So I think it's something that is something that is you can defend against it as a Zerg player. And if you have things like spine crawlers or queens or whatever in position, you know where the warp prism's coming or whatever else, then it is something you can adequately defend against, compared to the Protoss versus Protoss comparison, where it's just like, well, if I trade any adepts for any workers at all, I get way ahead just because it's a mirror matchup, right? All you have to do is then either continue to attack or pick attack and do whatever. Getting some more damage done here. See, we are up to 48 to 38 workers now. Force fielding and fighting off some Zerglings there, not taking really any damage. Up to 24 workers killed now. Just being as annoying as we can be. We can see here, if you have a few roaches, I mean, adepts die rather quickly, and they don't do any damage to roaches. The big thing is just making sure that you have them in position when they drop, and it kind of reminds me of mine drops, right? You have to be looking at a medevac and the mines that are dropped when it happens. Otherwise, you do take considerable amounts of damage, and that's just a part of the game and the multitasking that comes in Protoss versus Terran. It affects Terran versus Zerg as well, and I think it's something that is justifiably allowed in the game. I don't think it's imbalanced. If you have the correct multitasking, see here, you just move your workers away and then run your units over here, and you can defend against this without taking too much damage. It's just, if you let the damage build up too much too early, then that's basically the fault of your own multitasking. Flying back in here. See, this is what I'm talking about. You can't just have your whole army moving around. You get kind of picked apart by players who have better multitasking. Up to 56 to 41 workers, so we do have a substantial lead, and we're also transitioning into double Stargate, and we have our fleet beacon. In some of the other games that I was playing on stream, I was actually going into DTs after this, and it does a really great job to even pull the opponent further apart. I think it's probably the most optimal way to do this would be to do something like the 4-gate Adept drop into a Twilight Council with the shield upgrade, and then add on the Dark Templars. After that, you can add on 1 Stargate, and then after securing your 3rd base and getting the economy going up here, the gases, go back up to 3-gate Stargate. And the DTs are, I think, a good option, because not only do you get more damage on the, or more health on the Adept, so you can continue harassing even more, but also you do have the ability to pick off bases with your with the DTs. You see here, the 3rd base is pretty much undefended. If you come in here with 3 DTs, you can pick that off before they can get over there. And just as importantly, you have to keep in mind that you can load up Dark Templar into your Warp Prism. You see here, kind of sacrificing our Warp Prism and 2 Adepts to pull the attention in that direction, make them assume that we are dedicating to an attack on that front. But the real important thing is to come over here and get damage done there. Already moving up to another base, and we have Phoenix on the way. I do believe we did see the Spire, yes. We also did see the Infestation Pit. So you have 4 mutas here. This is something I was talking about on stream as well. I'm not really sure how I feel about the economy in terms of tech switches for Zerg, because in a game that I'd played earlier where a Zerg player can just save up a bit of money and then make a ton of Mutalisks at once, it's even harder to kind of prepare for this sort of thing as Protoss with this economy model, because switching into Phoenix costs a lot of money, and you also have to be able to... You have to have the production to do that, and then after that you also have to be able to defend against it. So there's a lot of different things to be thinking about, and you never know when they're just going to stop making those units. It's very easy for a Zerg player to simply build the tech structure. They don't have to actually build the unit. But for Protoss, once you've invested into a Stargate or something, that's where all your power units are coming out of. So you have to make sure that you're keeping up with the units that the Zerg player is making. Otherwise, your army becomes rather useless. And we see here that I'm still making Phoenix. I'm up to almost 9, or about to be up to 9 Phoenix now. And Neuro has actually gone back into Hydralisks, and there's not really a way to know this until we actually see his army once again. And so I don't know, just some more thoughts on how the economy model really negatively affects Protoss. I believe, I can't tell, but that looks off. Not placed correctly, now that I look at it. But it doesn't really matter, whatever, right? We see now that after killing my pylon here, we know that he is moving back into this ground-based army, scouting around with some Phoenix again, and some more commentary or thoughts that I think that you should be doing with this sort of Sky Toss army is that after you win a battle or get ahead like we did in the beginning with our Adept attack, I think you should always attack. As long as you have a Mothership Core and even a Warp Prism or whatever to be able to retreat or pull their attention somewhere else, if they do chase down your main army, or try to at least, I think it's always a good idea to trade, because at this point I'm really far ahead in terms of economy. In terms of army supply, we can see here that I am quite ahead as well. And there's really no reason not to be trading or preventing them from taking more bases. We do see Neuro is moving up to Infestors here. We saw there for a second that I did start Zealot Charge, and then I was like, that's a terrible upgrade, so I decided not to do that. Went ahead and got the shield upgrade instead. I think getting shield upgrade is always good, and then after that getting Blink is probably the correct research pattern you want to be doing. Throwing down some force fields, pushing back this army. So we have quite a few Void Rays here, picking up some units, and I think we actually have a strong enough army to just attack here, but I'm a little bit scared of Infestors and getting bunched up, so I decided not to attack here, and because of that, I do lose quite a few Phoenix here. After losing those Phoenix, I'm like, well, I guess I'll just attack, which is kind of a little bit late, because I suppose not losing 5 Phoenix would have been better than losing 5 Phoenix. But hey, I'm worried about building carriers, guys. It's all about carriers. If you haven't noticed, carriers are pretty awesome. Just throw this Warp Prism over here. Neuro just now getting up his 4th base. Ours has already been going for a while. That's definitely misplaced. There's no way that's that far away. You guys finding out all my secrets. And so Neuro is actually already on Hive, has a Lurker Den, and went up to Ultras. If you guys didn't know, Ultras do have 8 armor. And while this would have been really great if I was going for a ground army, I think if he had just actually gone for those Infestors that he had and then made Vipers instead of Ultras and the armor upgrades for Ultras, I think he actually had a very real opportunity of winning this game with how broken Zerg late game is. And this just goes back to what I was saying. You have to press the advantage here. I don't know, is that thing like ice skating? What was that? Are they ice skate now? What? I've never noticed this. What is it? You're learning with me, guys. What is... I have actually not ever paid attention to this. Ice skating on creep, I guess, is what we'll call this. Anyway, you have to press the advantage as the Protoss player, because it's always good to be trading these units. They're very cost-effective versus the Zerg army, and preventing them from getting more bases obviously just furthers your lead. You can do this stuff like harass with your Warp Prism or whatever in the meantime, like I was saying, and then recall out if you really have to. I think the thing that kind of prevents me from doing that in the games that I've been playing is that I always keep forgetting to build an observer and push this creep back. Creep is really scary as a Protoss player, and going for this air army, you have to be kind of aware not to get caught out with the fungals. So I think as long as we can work on that, getting out some observers and pressing our advantage in the early game and expanding behind it, just like this, putting up our base defenses and everything, then I think this Sky Toss has a really good viability as the game gets a little bit more balanced out. I do think that for starters, though, the parasitic bomb definitely is something that needs to be changed. It seems that just a few of those and a fungal and your whole army dies as Protoss, which seems rather odd because that's about 6 spellcasters that completely prevent you from essentially playing the game with fungal, preventing all army movement. And this kind of goes back to a thing that I mentioned a really long time ago. I think fungal should probably slow units instead of just completely stop them. Seems really disgusting, especially with the parasitic bomb. This parasitic bomb is strong, but you can just adjust how much damage it does and then make fungal not absurd, right? Losing a few DTs down here to this base defense. Neuro learning that you have to add that on as well. Good stuff. Getting some more air upgrades. We do have pretty much the ultimate air army here with 7 carriers and 9 void rays, 55 interceptors, and we can see those being launched over here on the left. Throwing those out, the 7 released interceptors, as well as the 35 other interceptors that we have shooting out here, and just kind of destroying the Zerg army here without higher upgrades in the air. Interceptors actually stay alive pretty well. Warping in a unit wave down here and going to harass and basically just trying to do whatever damage we can. So here's another example. I think we probably should have been pressing our advantage immediately while harassing on the bottom here. See those units fly over our zealot here. Gotta chase those down. Our DT doing some dancing there. I'm not sure what all he was doing. Getting +2, +2, or +3, +2, and +2 on our weapons here. Getting the most useless upgrade, because I suppose why not when you have this many bases, right? Generally, this is the phase of the game where you just upgrade whatever. And actually, I'm not sure. I think, I think you still can do a pretty good job of defending against some of the fungal or parasitic bomb stuff if you have either Templar or whatever else. But it's just the fact that if it does happen, you lose everything instantly. So I'm not sure if it's the range or what. Some more ice skating going on here. And some magical damage being done, apparently. Not entirely sure what's going on there. We do have our army positioned over here. And again, pulling Neuro to the right side. And this is kind of the positioning game that I think is a lot more prevalent in Brood War than it is in StarCraft 2. Staying out of the vision of your opponent while pulling them in different directions. We can see here, once our army has gotten into vision for Neuro, and pulled his attention, we give him a little bit to respond. Fly in here with our Void Rays. Release all of our interceptors. Smacking down some Vipers. That's what I like to see. And then getting out of there. And actually, that's something that I think needs to be changed as well. They made it so that the Mothership Core does not instantly cast recall. I'm not entirely sure why. I think it has to do with the spacing of air units now. But you can see all of Neuro's tech going down here, losing all of his bases to this harassment, and down 100 supply with pretty much nothing that shoots up. Spells the end of the game for him. And yeah, so I hope this this Adept drop style is something that you guys enjoyed seeing. It's something I actually really enjoy playing. It reminds me a lot of the multitasking from Brood War. It's not as gimmicky as just 4-gate Adept, run them into your opponent's base, and then trade, like in Protoss versus Protoss. It takes a bit more multitasking, and versus Zerg, I think they do have the tools that are necessary to stop the attack. You just have to have the correct multitasking and unit splitting, which is something that Protoss players have to have have learned very well, especially playing versus Terran players. You have to make sure you have the right units in the right spots, or Doom drops kind of kill you. So anyway, I hope this was entertaining for you guys. I'll probably go ahead and cast the game that I played versus Nathanius, because everyone loves seeing carriers. I love carriers. You guys love carriers. So we'll probably check that out next, and give you my thoughts on the Cyclone and some more balance ideas. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.